15th of June, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
He shouldn't. He shouldn't benefit from his wrongdoing of being a goslin. So according to that, so in other words, according to that, it was clear to us that Reb Meir is of the opinion that Shinui is koine, and that the whole reason why he said that you got to give back the calf and the shearings is because even though Shinui is koine, but we penalize the goslin, we don't want him to profit from his thievery. But the only question is Kikama boilon, Hachi boilon. This was the question that we asked. Kikonis, when they make a knas on a goslin, the mazid, about b'shogeg lo konis, o dilma afilu b'shogeg nabi konis. We wanted to know that who is the one that we're going to penalize? Are we going to only penalize the goslin who is a goslin b'mazid, or are we even going to be penalizing the one who's a goslin b'shogeg? And Rashi said in Dibra Maschil Shogeg, which is, where is that? Rashi says Dibra Maschil Bishogeg. It's where do I describe where it is? It's do you have a Hagos Agra? I don't know if you have the same layout as my Gemora, but it's a little bit more than halfway down the Rashi line, towards the end of Hagos Agra. Rashi says b'shogeg kigon. Who's the one who's a goslin b'shogeg? Kigon lokeach shelokach migoslin. Somebody who bought stolen property. Now he didn't buy the stolen property knowing that it was stolen property even. And then heshpicha, he caused the stolen property to appreciate. V'lo yoda shehi gazula. Rashi reiterates, he doesn't even know that the property is stolen. So he's a shogeg. So should we penalize a person like that? He didn't know that he was buying stolen property. So maybe in this case, the only thing that the Chachamim required him to do was to return the stolen property itself. But as far as the appreciation of the stolen property that he himself caused, he doesn't have to. Perhaps he doesn't have to return it. That's the question. Maybe he should have to, or maybe he doesn't have to. That's the question that we've got on the table now. So now, in order to determine whether this Goslin B'Shogeg is going to have to give back appreciated value, the Gemora now introduces the next statement. Okay, so who would like to read this statement? How about Alan?
Page 95A3. Gemara attempts to resolve.
Is it what? The Toshima?
Toshima, right?
Is it? Is that it?
Toshima, come learn a resolution from the following brisa.
Yes, my God, Rabbi is frozen again.
No, he's not.
Oh,
Yeah, I think you got it right, Alan.
Right, okay. More attempts to resolve the inquiry. Toshima, come learn a resolution from the following brisa. Hamisha, Govin, Min, Hamachorin. 5 creditors collect only from unsold properties. Of a low pain, and these are who they are. Payros, Veshevach, Payros, those who have a claim of produce and the improvement of produce. Uves, Bahama, Kabel or Love, Zoom, Ben, Ishto, Uvain, Ishto, and one who accepts upon himself to sustain the son or daughter of his wife. The gate ho she'ain bo use, and one who comes to collect with a debt document that does not have a guarantee written in it. Base Ishor she'ain bo use, and one who collects a woman's kasuba that doesn't have a guarantee written in it. Ma'ain shemamash lay doma harus lay wa'o to us. So there who now whom did you hear say that the absence of a guarantee is a promissory note is not presumed to be an oversight of the scribe. Rav Meir, thus this brisa is authored by Rav Meir. Kotoni, Nay, Peros, Shevas, Piros, and it states in this brisa that one receives compensation for the loss of produce, the improvement of produce from unsold properties. Shevach, Peros, Mechi, Dorme. Now, what is the case of improvement of produce? Kugon, Shegor, Zel, Sodem, Mechav, Peros, it is a case where one stole a field from his fellow and sold it to someone else. So he be Chor, who then improved it. He Yotzor mi Tachas Yodo, and it now leaves his possession as is in its improved state by a court's order to restore it to its rightful owner. Kashehu Gover, and the Baraisa rules that when the buyer collects compensation for his loss, Gover S. Ren Mikosim Mashu Bordim. He collects the principal even from sold property. But Ace Hashovah Mina for Sim B'nei Karim, but he collects the improvements he made only from unsold properties. Or Soa Baal or Shotil but now, if the buyer is collecting the principal improvements from the grabber, you see that the original owner of the land comes and takes from the buyer both his land and his improvements, i.e. the land he bought and the improvements that he made. Now, we are not dealing even with a buyer who is an unlearned person. The low you have door, the car, Niggas less, oh, a no, needed the less, who does not know whether the land can be legally, whether the land can legally be stolen or not. A P, Lu, or V, or C, say, Baal, Kara, eight, for short, Keel, La Ara, or, Bashivhor. And even so, the original owner of the land comes and takes from the buyer both the land and its improvement. Ushim may minua. Thus, you can learn from this that Shogeg Nebo Cornice, even when one acts inadvertently, Rav Meir also imposes a penalty.
Okay. Okay, so we had a number of cases over here, and the Gemora focused on this case of the peros and the shevach peros, or shevach peros. So let's see, do we have some Rashi over here? Peros v'shevach. We got, first of all, mina machorin. Let's read Rashi Dibra Maskal Mina Machorin. So this Brisa says Hamisha Govin Min Hamachorin. Still trying to figure out these four words over here. Let's take a look at the Rashi first. Maybe Rashi will help us out. She'ein bo mina machorin.
Machorin, not without the Rashi though. The Rashi basically says it's menechnesim. It's those. This is on 94. Menechnesim tzadkinu b'nei chorim, or some of free people, properties that are unencumbered is the best word to describe it. The low menachesim neshubi, not ones that are obligated. So they're not properties that are held in collateral for other things that he owes to somebody else. These properties are totally free. You know, he has these properties and they're totally not that he's given them to somebody else and they're on a lien. He can do whatever he wants with them.
Yeah, so the deal works like this. Properties, nechasim b'nei chorin, like you said, unencumbered. So what that means is that let's say you got two guys, and one you got a borrower and a lender, and the lender lends a sum of money to the borrower, and the borrower doesn't pay. So what is the lender supposed to do? So he's got two alternatives. He could go and try to collect from the guy's nechasim b'nei chorin, his unencumbered properties, or he can try to collect from nechasim mishubadim, properties that have a lien on them. Now, what's the practical nafkamin over here? The difference between the two types of properties. The properties that are b'nei chorin, the lender will not be able to collect such properties unless they are still in the possession, the legal possession, the ownership of the borrower. If the borrower still owns those properties, then he can go and collect those properties to pay his debt. But if, for example, the borrower would sell such properties, he would sell property to a third party. So the lender can't go and knock on the door of the purchaser those Nechasim b'nei Chorin and say, you know, the guy that sold you this property, he owes me money, so I'd like to have that thing that you bought from him, because really he owed me and he didn't have any right to sell it to you. So the guy is going to say, sorry, that's your problem, and he's right. But if it's nechasim mishubadim, if it is property that has a lien on it, so even if the borrower sells this property, typically it's a piece of land, and it has and there's a shtar, there's witnesses, and so it has a call that the property was sold, and so let the buyer beware, because he knows that this is the situation, that he's buying property that has been that's encumbered from a previous loan agreement that this seller made with the lender. So in that case, the lender can go knock on the door of the lokeach of this property and say, sorry, but this property is nechasim mishubadim. It is encumbered property and it has a lien on it, and I'm the one that holds the lien. I lent him $1 million and he didn't pay me, so I'm gonna collect this property over here that you bought from him to pay off my obligation, and then you'll just have to take your own recourse from him that you can. That's the difference between property that got a lien and property that doesn't have a lien. And okay. So what do we mean over here? What's the Mishnah mean when it says Chamisha Govin Min HaMachorin? Machorin means, in other words, property that doesn't have any encumbrance on it, doesn't have a lien. It's nechasim b'nei chorin, as the name implies, mechorin, from the word
Free. Cool.
yeah, cherus. It's just the two R's are just for emphasis. It's really free property. It's free property, free and clear. It's free of any meaning. It's free of any lien or encumbrance. So when we say over here, Chamisha Govin Mina Machorin, there's 5 that can collect from these properties, even though they are free of any encumbrance. In other words, when we say 5 over here, we're not talking about the 5 types of people, but we're talking about 5 types of creditors, I guess. What is it that they're owed? I think that's what it means.
My English says claim, 5 types of claim.
Right. So that, in other words, this person, he's got a claim against this other guy. What's his claim? Because I loaned him money, didn't pay me back, or something else. But according to that, I don't understand the cases over here. Peros and Shevach Peros, or somebody who accepted upon himself to support his wife's children from another marriage, or a shtar chov she'ein bo achrayus, ksuvas isha she'ein bo achrayus. So
So my footnote references Gittin and Bava Metzia. and it says that it's talking about a case where someone buys stolen property and then it gets repossessed by its proper owner. So it sounds like a very complicated situation.
Yeah. Man shamas, and then the Gemara continues, Man shamas le, the Amar Achrayas Lav Tos Sofer Hu, Rabbi Meir. Uktani Peros V'Shevach Peros. That's the next Rashi. Now the Gemara says over here, in bringing this raya, we say that there's a machlokes about between Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim on the last two cases of a ksuba. A man writes a ksuba, and it doesn't say explicitly in the right. What is a ksuba? Ksuba basically is the husband's obligation to the wife in the event of a divorce. Lo aleinu. And so it's basically like if this happens, then I owe you the following things. And so the question is, where could the wife collect it from? So if it's talking about a ksubas isha she'ein bo achrayas, it doesn't have achrayas. What that means is that the husband did not write into the ksuba explicitly that he is encumbering all of his properties at the time of the signing of this ksuba are encumbered to pay off the wife's obligation. So that'll include any property that he has now, and even if he sells it to a third party. So that third party he should be put on notice in regard to this ksuba, if it would have been written explicitly in the ksuba that there is such an arrangement over here. But here it didn't write explicitly. So now the question is, well, should we say that it was just an error of the scribe, that he didn't write it in? But obviously it's something that the husband wanted to put in. So Reb Meir says, Achrayas lav tos sofer hu. So therefore, if what that means is this issue of is all of his achrayas means responsibility. That means that all of his property will be responsible to pay this ksuba, even in the event that he sells it to a third party in the interim. So that's what, and it didn't write this explicitly in the ksuba. So now we got to know, well, is that simply a tos sofer? Do we regard it as a mistake of the scribe, or do we say no? The sofer didn't make any mistake. Oh, if he didn't make any mistakes, so then there is no achrayas. So if he does sell that property, so the wife is not going to be able to extract that property from the buyer.
I'm sorry, achrayas means what? Responsibility?
Yeah. So Rabbi Meir is of the opinion that achrayas is lav tos sofer hu. It means that if it was not written explicitly into the ksuba or the contract, some other type of a contract, some type of a loan agreement, let's say, where somebody's So that's would be similar to a ksuba. One person is obligated himself to somebody else. If it doesn't write achrayus specifically, and you could collect this debt from any one of my properties. If it doesn't have such a clause like that, Rebbe Meir says that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake of the sofer. Oh, so what does that mean? If it's not a mistake of the sofer, it means that the buyer, it means that the creditor or the wife is out of luck. She's not. I mean, she'll be able to collect from any properties that are still in the possession of the husband. But if he sold it to somebody in the interim, then that'll be a problem. That property doesn't have a lien on it because he didn't write achrayus into the shtar, into the ksuva. So, okay, so we're still on our way to try to bring a proof over here. We don't yet hear any proof over here in our question of whether or not a Goslin B'Shogeg is going to be penalized, and he'll also have to pay back the shevach, the depreciation. Then it says over here, Ve'uktani peros v'shevach peros. Now, in other words, the Gemora is saying that included in the brisa as one of the is one of the types of claims that will provide for collection even from unencumbered property, mechorin, is peros and shevach peros. So now we got to a place where we could read a Rashi. What is it? Rashi hopefully is going to tell us what this case of peros and shevach peros is all about. Lou, would you like to read?
Yeah. Peros v'shevach peros. Tanan b'Meseches Gittin. We learned in Meseches Gittin, ein motzi'in le'achilas peros. We don't take out peros that we eat.
L'achilas peros. Not sure what that means yet.
Ule shevach, and the increased value, karkaos, of the land.
In other words, the appreciation.
Right. Menichsim mishubadim.
Right.
What is menichsim?
Nechasim is properties.
The properties of the guarantors.
Mishubadim is a adjective that describes the type of the property that it is. It's a type of property that is mishubad. It is enslaved. It's enslaved. It's enslaved to pay off the obligation of the owner of that property, even if he sells it to a third party.
Okay. So it's a property that for which there is achrayus.
Right, exactly. Good. Achrayus and mishubadim go together.
Mipnei takon.
Tikkun ha'olam.
Tikkun ha'olam. Because of fixing the world, hefsid lekochos.
Right.
What?
Hefsid of lekuchos.
Hefsid of lekuchos.
Hefsid is loss.
Loss.
Lekuchos is purchasers, the ones that purchase this property. So we don't want a situation where Lekuchos will come to a loss by purchasing property and then having it taken away from them by a creditor of the seller of that property.
Right.
So therefore, yeah.
So that is basically a gezerah by the rabbis that they want to protect the purchaser.
Yeah.
Achilas peros. B'shevach karka. Achilas peros, we still don't know what that means. And shevach karka is the appreciation of the land.
Oh, so now I'll tell you what it means. What's Rashi saying over here? He's saying that, in other words, there's two parts of property. There's two aspects of property. There's the Karen, the land itself, and then there's the payros of the property. There's the revenues that the property generates. So when it comes to the property itself, the purchaser he better find out that whether this property is encumbered, because if it's encumbered, then he's gonna if he buys it at all, he's gonna buy it for a lower price, because he's got to be worried about the possibility that his seller of this property is going to default on a loan or get divorced or something, and then the wife or the creditor is going to come and take the property away from him. Okay, that's in regard to the Karen, the property itself. But what about the fact that this guy that bought the property, now he's planted fruits there, and he's got a whole orchard over there, and it's generating revenues, so that's called the payros of the property, and the payros of the property, the Chazal protected and said that even though he's owed that money also, or she is owed that money also, but they won't be able to get it from the lokeach. The payros of the property, they won't be able to get from the lokeach, and that's for the sake of the loss. That's what the Chazal did for the Tikkun Olam, because of Hefsed Lekuchos. And so therefore Rashi says over here that Ein Motzin, the Gemora in Gittin says that the creditor will not be able to take out from the buyer of the property achilas peros, literally the eating of the fruits of the field, meaning the revenues of the field, karkos, and the appreciated value, if any, of the property that the lokeach did or enjoyed because of the property appreciated. Either he did it himself by making it more valuable, or the property itself became more valuable. That amount, the Chazal said that the creditor will not be able to take away from the purchaser, from the lokeach, and that's tikkun olam. Even though the property itself is mishubadim, it's property which is encumbered, but the shevach that the property generates, the appreciation of the property, that's not subject to being taken away from the lokeach, and that's for tikkun olam, to protect the loss of the lokeach.
And what is the last word of the Rashi? Ochzin?
Oh, that's the name. That the name of the parak is Shnaim Ochzin. That's
Ah,
the first two words in the Mishnah, first Mishnah in Bava Metzia. Shnaim Ochzin B'talis. Two people come and they're grabbing onto the talus, and both of them says, "It's mine."
right. I remember that.
Okay. Okay, so the story is getting a little bit clearer over here. Still don't see exactly what the proof is over here, but okay, we got 5 minutes left, and we got more Rashis. We got more Rashis to do before we go further in the Gemora anyway. So let's do the Rashis. Oh, this is important. Get Hov. What does get Hov mean?
Star Chov, a document that obligates.
Right. The word, the language get, the word gets doesn't literally mean a divorce document. It basically means a document. And so therefore you could have something called a get Hov. And that's the way the Brisa refers to a star Chov. It calls it a get Chov.
So what's the difference between a get and a star?
And Chov means what? Obligation.
Right, a document of obligation.
Is there any
Right.
difference between a get and a star?
What's the difference between why we have two different words for the same thing? But
Right.
we can be used interchangeably.
Right.
Yeah. Good question. Don't one thing I could tell you is that the gematria of the word get, the gimel and the tuf, 9 and 3 is 12. That it refers to the fact that a get has to have 12 lines. But in other words, really the word get is generally the exclusive to a divorce document. In other words, like this, you wouldn't ever use when you say get and you don't specify what type of a shtar it is, you mean a divorce document. And when you say but you could, if you want, you could say a get Chov, like the Bryce over here says. But you got to specify, because otherwise, if you just say get, it's referring to a divorce document. Whereas when it comes to a loan agreement, you would never would you call a loan agreement a get Chov? Well, that's what we're saying over here.
Yeah, it
Get Chov.
says a debt document.
Get Chov. Yeah. Right. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, your question basically is stands. It's a good question. Don't know exactly why we have two names. Could use one name. Okay. Oh, here we go. She'ein lo boach rayos. We have time for that? Oh no, it's already 12:29. Okay. Okay. So we're getting there. Remember what we're trying to do over here. We're trying to we're analyzing this brisa with the following in mind. We want to see if the brisa agrees that a Goslin B'Shogeg would have to pay back not only what was stolen, but also the appreciated value, even if he caused the appreciation. That's what we want to know. Okay. Okay, everybody. Yashikoya.
Take care. Thanks.
Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Noon,
Thank you
4
very
o'clock?
much for,
Have a great day. All the best, Lou and Roy and Alan and Phil.
to you too,
4 o'clock,
Rabbi.
buddy?
Take care.
Amen.
Are you getting better, Phil?
I feel fine.